Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foul Ball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Hope that you're doing well. I'm doing great. Thank you so very much. This is a coverage stream covering, I'm just looking at my microphone covered in my cat's hair. Shit gets everywhere. That cat's hair gets everywhere. This is a coverage stream of Castlevania, Season 4, Castlevania, which just came out recently, and I'm watching and getting into every single episode. And I just finished episode 2. It's interesting. I'm a little removed from the show itself. I watched season 3 when it came out, a few years back, and I watched it. I binged it and really enjoyed it. It's kind of a vague memory in my head right now, sort of a vague idea. So I'm not quite as connected to the show as I have been with other shows. But I am watching it, and I just watched this episode. And first thoughts, I thought it was good. I thought the show was good. It really felt like just kind of two scenes. I mean, it was interesting because it starts off and you have I forgot his name. Victor? Is that his name? The dude who's the forge master, he's a slave to one of the vampires, and he's in their vampire coven. I don't know if vampires come in covens, but he's basically, this guy is a magician type of magic user who can raise people back from the dead. And he is enslaved by this vampire, this really sexy redhead vampire. And he's there to kind of create an army for these two vampiresses to sort of take over. And so basically the episode is cut into 2 parts. You have the beginning, where, God, I forget his name. This character is trying to create a hammer to, do his forging to create his undead army from hell. Then there's the 2 vampiresses kind of plotting. And then you have Belmont and Sypha get into a fight. That's pretty much all that happens. So it kind of just feels like almost 2 scenes. I will say that the writing in this episode, at least for the scene with the 2 vampiresses, was excellent. Probably it's a marked improvement from the last episode. That was just kind of like a handful of things were just happening, not really a lot of story, and just sort of action sequences running into each other. This episode had character and motivation and plot, and it was written, I felt, quite elegantly. It wasn't, characters just explaining their motivations or explaining things that other characters would already know. There were genuine exchanges. I really thought the middle bulk of this episode was excellent. So we have this character, not entirely sure. So it starts off and there's these cracks in the wall, right? So this kill, and he's a captive, and there's these cracks in the wall, and he puts this coin or rock into the cracks in the wall. And that's about as much explanation as they give it. He puts it in there and he walks away. And that's it. To me, he looks for sure, kind of looks around to see whether, what's the deal with that. So I think, to me, that means there's something more afoot, something deeper. And now he's plotting something. We don't know, but he's plotting something. He's asking to find someone's death, like exactly where they died, into one of those magic mirrors, right? And he's having that conversation, and then he blackmails some other wizard, another vampire or something like that. He gives him looks like a really nice bottle of wine, or maybe it's blood. I think it's a nice bottle of wine or booze, and he blackmails him into helping him. It's unclear as to what he's doing, but that's so he's making moves. He doesn't want to be a prisoner here forever. The next thing he does is he puts another one of those coins into another crack in the wall. So it's unclear what any of that means, but in my interpretation, he's making moves. He's doing something. He's trying to either get out of his servitude, or, I don't know, serve the now dead Dracula or something. He's up to something. Then the vampiress who enslaved him, I got to find everyone's names. It's kind of annoying to not know who the heck I'm talking about. It's not as much fun when I'm like the redhead one. No, the other one. She went to go visit his quarters, the vampiress that enslaved him, whom I will figure out in just a minute what her name is. Season 4, Having the World is the name of the episode. Okay. All right. Where are we? The cast and crew, company credits. There we go. Oh, for crying out loud. Jiminy Cricket. What the hell's going on? Just has like a blunt explanation. Give me the cast and crew. Do it now. What the heck? Oh, man. Hector. That's his name. Hector, not Victor. Hector. So Hector is talking to the vampiress who enslaved him. I forgot her name. She's really the pretty redhead, but now it's going to be impossible to figure out. So I'm just going to move on because why stick around? Anyway, he's talking to her and he's trying to create his hammer again. He's trying to basically like create his magical hammer that raises the dead, his Forge Master hammer. And, it's a blacksmithing process that takes a little bit of time. And he's dealing with these ignates that aren't up to snuff. And so there's this whole kind of back and forth with him and her. And she's, what's the word? Seductive? Flirty. She's flirty. She's kind of flirty with him, even though she's the reason he's a slave. He literally has like a magical bond on his finger that he cannot overcome. He's now like stuck with her. But she's kind of being cute and sweet and sort of, teasing him, busting his balls and such like that. And he's talking about the process of getting this hammer created. What I think the scene serves, what I think the point is to kind of show her, not humanity, but maybe naivete. Maybe like she's a bit soft in this regard and is kind of like letting him in, or giving him not, how do I put this? Just kind of not seeing that he might be dangerous to her and the vampire's cause. That he's kind of like adorably getting her on his side, or kind of like letting her let her guard down. That's probably more accurate. So that's almost all that's established in this scene, that he's building the hammer and they're kind of having a back and forth, and it's kind of flirty. It's kind of sexual. She keeps making references to like a flute, which is sort of, being a euphemism for his penis, and like kind of going back and forth. And there's like a little sexual tension between the two characters. I don't know where that's going to go, because in the last season, this dynamic, that sexual dynamic, is exactly what got him enslaved. So I don't know if she genuinely is attracted to him or wants to explore that, but it's pretty prevalent in this scene. And it's kind of funny because this show uses sex in a really interesting way. I think with the exception of Belmont and Sypha's sexual relationship, pretty much all this sex is done as like a weapon or to like subjugate somebody. It doesn't really have like a positive connotation. So here with her kind of using sex again, it's like, where is that going? What's the vibe here? Has he turned the tables on her? Has he kind of flipped the vibe and sort of like let her maybe overconfidence that she believes she has him kind of wrapped around her finger? Maybe he's going to use that as a weapon to help himself escape or create a coup or something. I don't know. It's curious. This part of the episode I really liked. I thought this scene was good. I like seeing the way they kind of established his mental state and how he's clearly scheming something, and that this sort of relationship with this vampiress is kind of, it seems like he's gaming her. And I like that. I think that's interesting. Then the next scene is excellent. The next scene is, it's only been 2 episodes, but it's the best of the season so far that I've seen. is between these two vampiresses going back and forth about power. I have to find out what the heck this is, what these characters' names are. It's crazy that I can't find this. Is stupid. All right. So you go to season 4 and I click on it on IMDb. Oh, Lenore. Okay. Lenore's the redhead. Camilla. That's right. Okay. Camilla is the white-haired vampiress who is like no joke. She Godzilla. Hey buddy, what's cracking? How's it going? Says finished binging season 4 today. Wish it was longer, but a satisfying conclusion. Good. I am literally taking this episode by episode. So I'm on episode 2. And that's all I've watched. I'm on the second episode and that's all I've seen. I'm just taking it like that for the sake of the stream. So I haven't really, I don't know. I hope it's good. I'm glad to hear you liked it. And I think wishing something is longer is probably the best. That's the best thing you could hope for, I think, from watching some kind of media, whether it's TV or movies. I think that's the best because it's like, if you want more, that means it was really good. There's nothing worse than being like, okay, I'm kind of over this. If you're hungry for the next episode or hungry for the next installment, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. So this was really interesting. So from a screenwriting point of view, most scenes in like TV and movies, they're not really supposed to be more than a few minutes long. They're really supposed to be like 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes, but really they're only supposed to be a few pages each scene. They're supposed to just kind of cook along. This scene takes up the bulk of the episode. And it's between Camilla and Lenore going on about her plans. And Camilla's not backstory, but Camilla's motivations as to why she's so power hungry are really well expressed. And something I've criticized this show for doing is kind of expository dialogue where like the characters are just explaining things to other characters that would already know stuff, like, well, we have to storm the castle because this is the only entrance. It's like, yeah, that character would know that, but it's like they're kind of doing it for the audience's sake. This scene in particular, I thought was excellent. I thought it was all character driven and it served the plot. Like it served the story development. And it took a while. Like they really spent a lot of time letting those moments flesh out, which is to me pretty bold storytelling because you could probably accomplish this exact same information in a tidier scene, but they really let it hang out there. And I think like we're in the 4th season. Camilla has been a pretty big force since season 1. So giving her this moment to kind of see her blackness, see like this bleak soul that she carries and her really expressing her kind of domination intentions is good. I think it really works. And I think it serves to make her a more formidable villain. Even though she's been pretty formidable for a while, I like that even though she's had losses and she's been up and down, she's still a pretty serious villain. I thought it was kind of funny. She sort of has like vaguely like SJW motivations. Like all these rich men had these things and I'm going to take it from them. I was like, it's kind of funny. I thought that was sort of interesting because every other form of media would write that character as the hero, and you'd be, she'd have to be her overcoming of how oppressed she is. Right. They actually put it in the hands of the villain, which I respect. I think that's good. And it's good. And look, honestly, it's better writing. It's more interesting. Godzillionaire says, once you get 5 to 6 episodes in, it will be hard to watch only one episode. I'm sure. I'm trying to be disciplined, though, simply to serve the streams because I kind of want to just cover each episode and absorb it and talk about it and kind of like let it sit in my brain. I'm curious. I'm curious to see where it goes because I've been a fan of this show since I first started watching it. And I love the story development, but what I'll say is the second part, when you get to Belmont and Sypha, it just kind of felt like the whole first episode. The whole first episode just felt like a series of action sequences where the stakes were pretty low and they really weren't that interesting or moving the story forward much. Like it was happening, but it wasn't that fascinating. And this whole second half or not even second half, the last few minutes or whatever with Belmont and Sypha's fight in the barn. I was like, okay. Like, I was just kind of waiting for it to end. And then they introduced this character I swore was a guy, swore that was a man. And then all of a sudden that man has a female voice actress portraying it. I was like, oh, that's room for pause. That's something I'm like, okay, that might be concerning. She has like short hair, like every strong female in media now has got short hair, like half her head shaved or whatever. That's like that's the badass female look. And she's a woman of color and just things I'm just like, I hope this isn't an issue. It gave me no reason to think it's an issue other than the fact that it's 2021 and we live in a time where all those characters, are written like that. And you're like, oh boy, okay. Is this going to be one of those? Is that what we're in for with Castlevania? Because Castlevania, I think, has not been woke. There's been representation, certainly, and a la carte at the end of episode 3. That was a bit jarring, I'd say. Didn't expect that, but it still didn't feel woke. It just kind of felt like it was there. And like kind of sexual depravity amongst vampires is kind of part of the lore of what they are. I mean, it was always kind of a sexual allegory. Like the biting is kind of a piercing, penetrative thing. That's always kind of there. So that didn't bother me. In the sense that it didn't feel like agenda driven. It was a little different, but it wasn't what I expected. Godzillionaire. I won't give spoilers. It all comes together. Good. The writing in this show has always impressed me. I've enjoyed it. I like the storytelling. I think it's really fun. And I'm always on board. So it all comes together. I believe it. I think the writers they have a lot of integrity. I think they're really good. And you're also saying that I agree. I had the same reservations at that point. Yeah, I think look, I'm sorry that I'm a little cagey when it comes to, modern media and their obsession with representation. I'm sorry that I'm a little sensitive about it, but you guys are the ones who are obsessed, that constantly force it down everyone's throats. So what are we supposed to do? Not acknowledge that? No, I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to absorb it. I'm going to point it out. Doesn't mean I'm always right. It's like there's that show Invincible, which was interesting because I still think at its heart it was kind of a deconstructionalist, is that a word? Narrative where you kind of get rid of like traditional heroes and like father figures. It kind of has the same vibe, but overall that's an interpretation. The show itself wasn't really woke, but you're on the lookout. You're kind of like, Ta-Nehisi Coates. What are you mentioning that for? So you kind of keep your eyes open, but look, if it's not woke, it's not woke. I'm not jumping at shadows, as people say. Godzillionaire says, when it comes to wokeness, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 487 times, shame on me. Yeah. It's like I almost want them to prove to me it's not woke. You know what I mean? Like I almost want them to go out of their way to make it clear. As much as they make it clear it is woke, I want them to make it clear it isn't. I want them to acknowledge the fact that all media is woke and we're not doing it in this one. Like that's how much I need them to like come to my aid when it comes to enjoying something, because it's just like it's all woke. It's just everything that comes out. But this show seems to be kind of an anomaly in that regard. It doesn't really seem to be too affected by it, which is rad, which is very cool. Very cool. So Sypha and Belmont are in this barn, and there's these vampires that they established an episode before. This sort of Cockney vampire and this Russian vampire, which I like. I mentioned that last week. I do like that. I love the vampires from different cultures. That's really cool. It's a cool idea. And so they ambush them, or not, but it was kind of a coincidence. So it looks like it's an ambush for Belmont and Sypha, and then there's all these demons who come and they have to fight them. And this is the first time you've seen Belmont and Sypha not do a great job. It still didn't work for me, though. I still kind of was like, meh. I don't know. I just didn't buy it because the stakes weren't there yet. Like, we don't know who they're fighting or why. Like, it's just kind of every time we've seen them, well, not every time, the 2 times when we have seen them, they're just kind of handily fighting demons and vampires and killing. And it's just like, meh, not not really wowing me. You know what I mean? I just need a little bit more story. And I use this example all the time, but it's a great example, is The Expanse. The Expanse is a relatively action-heavy show, but when there's action, you care. The story is woven into the motivations of the action. It doesn't just happen for action's sake. And that is significant. And I think that's what at least this season right now, is kind of lacking, is significance for these action sequences. I know that they're building towards something, but it almost feels like filler. And I don't love that. I don't, because I'm just kind of like, all right, waiting for this to end when they win, and they, of course, will win. And then out of nowhere, Vigilante Williamson, hail. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you, Vigilante, my buddy, my friend. Wednesday, Chrissy Mayer on the Culture Crime Fighters on this channel at 5 o'clock. I think that's going to be fun. Hopefully not weird, because I did meet her at the comedy show. And if anyone caught anything of the cocktail lounge, you'll see I wasn't sober. Very not sober on Friday. Embarrassingly so. I'm kind of humiliated. But hey, it is what it is. Life is real. But anyway, I saw her show at the Vulcan Gas Company, and she's going to do this show on Wednesday, and super pumped about it. And I co-host that with Vigilante Williamson. Hail! Godzillionaire. They made a point of stressing how Belmont and Sypha had been fighting nonstop for 6 weeks and were exhausted. Wednesday. Yeah, no, I know. It just, like, if that's the only story beat you progressed, is that they'd been fighting for 6 weeks and were exhausted, it's very inefficient storytelling. It's like, all right, we're talking like 15, 20 minutes worth of screen time to get that across. Like, that's not excellent in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I just need it to be a little more layered, a little bit more nuanced. Like, I was watching at the bar where I work. The Last Crusade was on. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was on. And there's a great sequence where, what's that bad guy's name? Whatever the bad guy's name is, the bad Nazi. He gets the tanks from like the Arab dude, once he gives him his Phantom, and the guy like talks all about the car, and I even like the color. Really good scene. Gets they get all this stuff. It justifies why they have all these tanks and this, that, and the other. But then at the end of that sequence, you see that the guy with the tattoo who protects the Grail, he kind of looks. He's like, oh, he's watching. Like, that's layered storytelling, right? You establish how, like, the villain progressing as far as like getting their equipment and moving in on Indiana Jones, but then you see the other force, like the conflict is established. That's something that I'm missing from this show right now, is that there's not a lot of layers in a lot of these sequences. Like, they're happening, but they're not doing much. They're not accomplishing much. It's just a fight. It's like, all right, fine. This is an action show. There's going to be fights, but they're not getting to anything. They're not establishing anything. There's no layers to what I'm watching. It's just very like blunt and surface. And that's something that I'm just kind of not loving about really just Belmont and Sypha. Last week's episode, the first episode with Alucard, I liked his scene. I thought it was great. And I really liked the scene between Camilla and Lenore. I thought that was terrific. But the scenes with Sypha and Belmont, I'm just like, it's not really a lot happening. It's just them fighting. It almost feels obligatory, Godzillionaire says, comparing a Netflix original to The Last Crusade, setting the bar a tad bit high, aren't we? Look, yeah, obviously, but the point is good storytelling, and there's nothing, you don't have to, there's nothing, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing excluding you, anyone, from writing a good script that's layered and moves the story well and also is fun. And then, it can be done, is my point. So I was just trying to use that as an example of layered storytelling and how to move the plot forward in multiple ways with a single scene. And that's good writing. Good writing keeps you engaged with every moment that's on the screen, every single second. You're never bored. And I'm just going to say, like, I'm a little bored with the Sypha and Belmont stuff. That's all. Hello, the elite. Hello. It's going to get epic real soon, he says. Please, no spoilers. Because I'm literally taking this episode by episode. So I'm not there yet. I've watched 2 episodes, and that's it. And then going back to the cocktail lounge, Vigilante Williamson says, I had my week blitzed a few weeks ago and I was singing Kanye songs in the background, bro. Lol, completely gone. Yeah, I don't ever want to be that drunk again on the air. That was really embarrassing. Everyone had fun, and that's great. But I was listening back and I'm like, oh my God, what a drunken ass. Just like steamrolling everybody. Ugh, humiliated. So thank you, Vigilante. You're a saint for putting up with that shit. And so are you guys if you watch that garbage. Just kidding. All right, back to the show. Yeah, so we've got them fighting demons. That's kind of like, okay, the thing too about the scene is, where the hell did all those other fighters come from? They literally appeared out of nowhere. All of a sudden, they're just in the fight. Like, where did they come from? You're walking in an empty barn, then all of a sudden, in this empty barn, there was like 6 other fighters, and they are some sort of resistance effort against the demons. Just like, okay, I'm open-minded. I hope that this all comes together well, because I hope that it like aligns with maybe like what Alucard's going through, like what the message that he received. Excuse me. Where he's going to like help a village, whatever. I hope that this is related. Because 2 episodes in, that's what, 45, 50 minutes of screen time, where I'm kind of only engaged on the goodwill of the show at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I already know the show, but if I was just watching these 2 episodes, it's not incredibly gripping. You understand what I'm getting at? It's kind of like, it's just sort of, I don't want to say it's filler. It's just sort of surface. It's not deep. It isn't complex, which I think the writing of this show can be extraordinarily complex, as illustrated by Camilla and Lenore's scene. That was an incredible scene. It was great. Established character motivation, had compelling dialogue, moved the story forward, established villain motives. It was good. It was very good writing. And this is just sort of, well, we have to have an action sequence. It's like, I mean, do more than that, please. I guess you see the villains again, but it's like, not in love with it. Not in love with it. Glad to hear that you guys are liking it, though. The Elite and Godzillionaire, I finished it earlier and I loved it. Godzillionaire says, me too. Finished it earlier today. Very satisfying conclusion of the series. Glad you guys are liking it. I really, I think I was just roboting there, but I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the show, because I think it's an excellent show, and it's rare, and it's fun, and it's kind of like an American anime. It's a really terrific show, so I'm glad that you guys are fans. So let me see if I can't. I'll just share a single image, because I've not strikes but claims for showing like moving images, but I just want to just share this real quick. So this character here, oh, there we go. This character here is a woman. That's a woman. Didn't expect that till she spoke, because to me that doesn't look like a woman, to be honest. It's pretty masculine jawline there, and thought that was a dude. I mean, a feminine dude, certainly, but Alucard, he's a guy, and he's extraordinarily feminine. So I just definitely thought that was going to be a dude. And then when this person started talking and then had like a female voice, I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? So that was a bit surprising. Kind of out of nowhere with that. And I just, this whole thing is just sort of clunky. Look, I'm not talking shit about the show. Still I'm still very much optimistic about where it's going to go and how much fun it's going to be. But I'm just not I'm not loving this. Whereas in season 1 and 2, I mean, damn, dude, there was not an episode wasted. Wasn't even a moment wasted. I mean, I was so hooked and I could not stop watching. I'm almost watching almost out of goodwill. Like, it's good enough. It's compelling, but I don't know. I think I want them to work a tad harder on the writing. Tad harder. Godzillionaire. On a side note, it appears the entire series was written by Warren Ellis. Makes a big difference when you have a singular vision. Interesting take. Interesting point. I think that does make a difference. That does help artistic guidance. I don't know. I kind of don't want to weigh in yet until I've seen it all. You know what I mean? I don't want to have a grand critique of anybody yet because it's still kind of new. I just started watching. I'm only two episodes into this season, so I'm curious. I'm very curious. But I'm just reflecting on what I'm seeing right now, and I just think they can do a little better. I think they could go a little deeper, a little more layered, a little more nuanced. Just feels like they're dragging it out a little bit. That's my feel. That's my idea. And so at the end of this, Belmont and Sypha agree to help this rebellion, whoever they are, and Trevor and Sypha say how they're on the trail of people who are trying to resurrect Dracula. Just like, okay. I'm just wondering, like, why couldn't we have started with this scene, right? Last episode, we have them on the road, for weeks doing all this stuff. And okay. Not much was accomplished there. Like, if this scene happened the way it did right now, right? They're on the road, they come across this thing, they fight, and they run into this girl. And then they establish that someone's trying to resurrect Dracula. Why couldn't we have just done that? Why did we need to spend all that extra time? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, how that's not efficient, how that doesn't really get the job done. It's like, yeah, okay, we'd have less action sequences, but like, whatever. I don't really think it's very, I just don't think it's very valuable to show writing, like to show scenes that are filler. It's just like, well, they're fun because there's explodies and knives. It's like, I guess, I don't know. Personally, I like a little more depth. I like a little more gusto in my stuff. So that's really all I'm getting at. And then the episode ends, and with a little quip from Belmont. And so I was left like being like, you did better with the Camilla and Lenore scene, a lot better. And then it ends with an action sequence. It's just kind of more of the same that we got from the last episode. Not terrible, not amazing. Just all right. Curious where this goes. Thing is, there's a lot of players on the board that really aren't being dealt with, right? Like there's the other Forge Master, the black dude who whips himself. Where's he? And I know he's heavily involved. You have Alucard's story, Belmont's story. I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of players, a lot of pieces on the board that aren't being moved. And I know it's early. I'm optimistic, but right now I'm just kind of like, are we wasting time? Are we wasting time? Godzillionaire says, I'm used to watching anime. The long-running anime series don't have filler episodes. They have filler seasons. Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I don't care for that. I don't find that interesting. I find that dull. I'm not sure what the appeal is. I think sometimes that's sort of the goodwill of the people who've been watching for so long are just so in love with the property that they'll accept a filler episode or a filler season or whatever. But yeah, I guess that's just kind of the nature of anime. I don't know. I don't love it. Like I filler bores me to tears. I kind of tune out almost immediately. But 3-putt bogey, hail. Yeah, it was a good show, but had a lot more potential. Like I said, I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's good. I mean, 4 seasons is a lot. That's a lot to keep it interesting. I'm curious, but right now I'm like, all right. Not terrible. Not great. Not great. All right. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will be live tomorrow at 1 Central doing the MF for Mondays. And then Wednesday, catch me and Vidge on this channel with Chrissy Mayer. It's going to be super fun. And Friday, the Cocktail Lounge. So thank you so much for watching. Godzillionaires, good to see you. 3-putt bogey, the Elite, and Vigilante Williamson. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you all in the next stream.